Hello, everyone. Welcome once again to the Football Uncensored podcast with me, Rob Kirton, and of course, John Sitton. John, evening. How are you?
All right, Rob. Yeah, all good. Yeah, not a lot of work. But after the goings on this week with the FA Cup and the highlights and the goings on, Chelsea last night, we had to try and squeeze one in before the league programme restarts. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I know you. I specifically like to talk about a playing style that we've touched on before on here, and one specific game in the third round, probably others, but one specific game illustrated it quite well. So we're going to talk about Sunderland, Newcastle, linked into the whole playing out from the back tactic, which is the very much on vogue, whether that's the defenders playing it about or the keeper. So I'm going to hand over to you to kick off the discussion. Obviously, the game we're talking about was quite prominent in this style of play, to the detriment of one side.
Yeah. It was not just them. I mean, over the weekend, I was watching the highlights. There was a lot of probably pot calling the kettle black, but a lot of self-inflicted pain, a lot of self-inflicted damage, from what I can see. I mean, look, Rob, it ain't a new innovation. I've said it before. I might have said it early on in these podcasts. I said it definitely with the previous lot of podcasts. I'm not sure I said it with Don and Alan, but it's not a new innovation in terms of trying to play through the three thirds. We were taught it as kids at Chelsea under Dario Gradi and Dave Sexton, Ken Shiletto. You had that generation of coaches, including Malcolm Allison, particularly some of his disciples like John Cartwright. I said it before. There was an organisation, I honestly don't know if it's still going, it used to be the London Coaches Association. And then once a month, they would put on a session in what they used when I was a schoolboy there at Arsenal, at the Old Highbury on the Red Gra, which obviously it became AstroTurf. They used to put a session on once a month there, and different people could be invited along, or they'd come along, or they'd volunteer to come along and do a session. I remember David O'Leary did one, obviously what he picked up off of George Graham, who in turn picked it up off of Terry Venables, with regards to the defending and shutting the lines off and forcing the ball inside. Very detailed, but one I remember in particular was, it was entitled The Keeper, the Deeper Sweeper, and it was put on by John Cartwright, and it was a fantastic session, very bright and innovative, but he could only take it so far. But what it was sowing the seeds, like seeds were sown when I was a kid, with regards to like squeezing up, then dropping out and peeling off, and then drop out on the half turn as a centre back and trying to get the ball, or asking for the ball for the goalkeeper to be rolled out. So it's not a new phenomenon, and yet all of a sudden, dare I say it, coaches, it's going to sound strange what I'm going to say, I think they've become lazy, in the respect that I think they've just gone along with what Pep's done at Manchester City, Pep Guardiola, who's been involved in it for, I don't really know his age, I don't really know his personal details. I'm going to have a stab at 30. He's been involved in it for 30 years, playing it and coaching it. It was implemented initially, total football, by Johan Cruyff at Barcelona, where he was a baby, a youth player, and come through the ranks. Pep, that is. Who, if my research is right, he got it off of Rinus Michels at Ajax.
Yeah, I think you're right.
When he was a player there under Michels at Ajax, which was the blueprint that Dave Sexton and Dario Gradi tried to mimic, copy, plagiarise, right? So he's been involved in it in 30 years as a player and a coach. He's put feelers out, and he's had little tete-a-tetes with, which you can do, and you do, and I have done, where you have little head-to-heads with other coaches. He's sought out supposedly, allegedly, Marco Bielsa.
Yeah, that's pretty well documented, isn't it?
Pretty well documented, who said about at all times, as near as damn it, have 5 in an attacking position around the ball, or 5 around the ball, which if you look, that's what they do, right? And then 5 ready to defend. That's your 10 outfield players, right? Well, that's not a new phenomenon, because David Webb used to do it at Brentford. He would never let his back 4 and 1 screening midfield player go any further than the halfway line, and the screening midfield player would be just inside the opposition half, right? So that's not a new phenomenon. And yet what coaches have tried to do, they've just gone along with, without the GDP of a small Middle Eastern nation behind them, without being able to buy the players that Guardiola's got at his disposal, magnificent athletes, great technical ability, all of them, all want the ball, all comfortable on the ball, all with a massive football IQ, very intelligent, to the extent that I noticed years ago when I went to the Chelsea-Manchester City as a guest, Chelsea-Manchester City League Cup final. And the only reason I raise it is just come out in the media on YouTube, and different pundits have said, yeah, well, we did say they're very good at stopping the game. Well, I said it whenever that was. I forget, but I went as a guest, a mate of mine. I got an invite, me and my missus, to as his guest. He was a member of Club England, so it was all the hospitality and all the rest of it. And he said to me, Chelsea are having a good spell. I said, yeah, but look at this. They've had 20 minutes of unbelievable attacking intent and good possession. Every time they get in a dangerous position, a shooting position, a little give and go on the edge of the box, or give and go wide, or someone gets isolated wide and they've got it out their feet and they're just about to whip it in, someone comes crashing in, or they do the body check or the shirt pull and stop the game. City stop the game and regroup. I said, very cute, very continental, and a high part of the hybrid that I wanted of young players that I was coaching at little lowly Leyton Orient, right? So the point I'm making is, in a roundabout way, I just think, yeah, we'll go, the coaches, yeah, we'll go along with that. And then this England thing, this England myth, I mean, that's changed nearly as many times as I've changed me, my haircut. It's like, 1 minute we're going to play the percentages. Well, first of all, under Charles Hughes, it was 3 passes or less to get in the attacking third, which was turned on its head and used against us, right? If you look at the German thing with regards to defending, retrieving the ball, and then getting from your 18-yard box to the opposition 18-yard box with a cross or a shot within 7 seconds, right? That was turned on its head and used against us. So you had that thing, 3 passes or less to get in the opposition's penalty area, which was part of the system that I came through. Although what I was doing, I was cherry picking bits and pieces from everywhere, including what I've been diarising as a player, from a schoolboy at Arsenal, at Chelsea, all the way through me pro career with different coaches. Then it sort of tailed off at a couple of clubs, namely Gillingham and Leyton Orient, where there was no real coaching, although there was at Leyton Orient for a season under Brian Eastick. And then what you do, you try and implement it and add your own ideas to it and modify it, right? So I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, then they had the spell, England, this is where, what we're going to try and do, we're going to try and knock it about, and we're going to try and play like Spain. And then you had the big thing in the media, and you had people like Harry Redknapp saying, or you had the Oddle thing, where he was actually saying to players, yeah, I want you to do this, and I want you, and he's saying to Rio said, yeah, he gave me freedom, and he said, I want you to run it in and become part of the midfield. You could argue that at that level, players just need to be told, but I happen to believe that I agree. I agree with what George Graham said in a conversation with him at London Colney. Even the best players need structure. So what you've got to do, you've got to show them. So you don't just tell them, you've got to show them. So that's all we're all saying to Rio. Yeah, I want you to run it in and become part of the midfield, and you've got to show them, because what it is, it's like the next phase, and then the next phase, and then the next phase. Now, within those phases, these are the movements, right? And then you've got to have like a plan B if it breaks down, etc., etc. And then that all ties in with, so fast forward to now, everybody all the way down into the English Football League as well, where they're with one or two exceptions, which I'll come to, and they're all trying to copy and be, Pep light. And it's not happening, and they're getting the ball pinched off them. I happen to think it was brainless, because I looked and I thought, like, what are they doing? You know what I mean? That's either unbelievable belief, as in Sunderland v Newcastle, because if you look at it, if you replay it in your mind, which we've got no access to any replays, any technology in it, but I can, in my mind, I can see now Newcastle's front three push right up, and one each on more or less on the corner of the 18-yard box, and one in the middle, just outside the D, saying, "Go on, I dare you," which is what they call like become another cliche, but it's all right. It's okay. It's a good description. Setting traps. You know what I mean? Oh, they've set traps. Well, you get your head up as a goalkeeper and you say, you know what, I don't like the look of this. They've squeezed up. They're daring me to roll it out, and the players have got to recognise it. They actually, Newcastle were daring them to roll it out, and as you saw for the second goal, almost immediately after half time, they've gone, "Go on then, I dare you," and he's rolled it out to one of the defenders, and he's tried to open his body and then chop it back on his other foot, had it pinched, bump side for little pass, side foot into the back of an empty net, almost an empty net. Unbelievable. And then that's them done. They're out the tie. I actually said that someone said to me, "What do you think?" I said, "I think it'd be 1-3. You can go back on my Twitter feed. I said 1-3 or 0-2. So I weren't far out, because I just thought but to make a game of it, what you've got to do, Rob, taking it to the next thing. I've always said, every coach or manager, which at Chelsea was not really clearly defined, which I think we're going to come to later, every club, every set of players has got to have its own agenda. So what's going to happen? The club, so your agenda, is it to win something? Is it to survive? Is it to try and creep up the table, baby steps, keep adding to the squad? Hopefully you get the time over 2-season period to start challenging for something. Is it about getting promotion from the lower divisions, etc., etc.? Then what's got to happen is you've got to say, right, you rewind it and you say, right, okay, well, how are we going to achieve that? If that's the goal, how are we going to achieve? Are we going to get to that? And then in the meantime, you've got to plan short term, medium term, like I said on the last podcast, and long term. Okay. And what you need to do is you need to add bits, take bits away, modify bits, shuffle someone over there. You understand what I mean? So you've got to have your own agenda on how you implement your ideas on the players. And it just seems to me there's one agenda, and that's to copy Pep without the players. I just don't get it. I just don't. And you've got all this self-induced pressure and self-inflicted wounds, leading to the ball being pinched and ending up in the back of the net. Then you're giving yourself a mountain to climb. Another football cliche, but you are.
Like you say, it was the second goal for Newcastle. I think it was early in the second half, and they'll say 1-0 down at the time, come out early in the second half. You're still in the game, and then that era, like you say, you described it. I think it was Isak that scored the goal. I'm guessing he was the central guy. The left wide for Newcastle, probably Joe Linton, but I can't remember. But I think the guy that pinched the ball was Almiron off the centre half. And like you say, keeper the centre half, Newcastle corner him.
Listen, Rob, you know what's occurred to me? Managers, I could never do it. I couldn't do it as a player, and I couldn't do it really as a coach. I couldn't do it as a so-called manager. They've all become great actors, right? And people within football have become great actors. Because honestly and truly, I'm looking at this guy. I've got no agenda with him other than just stating facts. I'm looking at the geezer. He seems to be on some sort of hot streak, as in, well, what's the plan? Is it to keep getting sacked and getting paid up? He was meant to have one job. I think it might have been Wolves. He's read the writing on the wall there. We're not really going to be able to add to the squad. We're losing him. He's going. So this is what you're going to be left with. He didn't fancy that. He had another job, QPR, gone in now. That's sort of a lower division version of Chelsea, and it has been for years. It's all over the gaff. I think it's being used as a franchise. There's no short, medium, and long-term planning. If there is, the people involved for the last few years, in the last few years, have made a complete pig's ear of it. They've just let go one of the best coaches. I was actually on the UEFA A conversion with him, Chris Ramsey. They've just let him go as technical director. No one's questioned what's going on behind the scenes with regards to the recruitment and the director of football, who's whatever his title is, a former playing legend now. Although he's been involved in an integral part of it for years now.
Ferdinand, isn't it?
And yeah, that's right. Then he goes to Rangers, which is basically it's a country where it's a 2-horse race. If he gets that right, he'll be like a mini messiah. You know what I mean? And he gets his marching orders there. Now turns up at Sunderland, which has been, basically, I used a term on Twitter about London and the traffic and TFL and crime and blood. It's a clusterfuck. You know what I mean? They've done fortunes up there and got nowhere. And well, what's he going to do if he's going to come in and try and do that? Nah, you're not all you're cracked up to be. And you only ever learn from your mistakes. But how many jobs do you need, and how many different sets of players do you need to look at to form an opinion on what's in front of you? You know what I mean? I needed it once and never got a second chance. I'll be honest. That's why I like when I look at it. I'm a great admirer of Liverpool because they'll do both. If they can play out, they play out when it's on, and that's when you should play out, when it's on. You don't force it. And then it's like I've been remarking on Twitter in the week. I call it Twitter, whatever it's called now, but I still call it Twitter.
We'll call it Twitter, John.
You got to have the what ifs. You know what I mean? You need bodies around the ball. City normally commit 5, 1 on the ball and 4 around him, and then as the ball shifts, the 5 shift. You understand? So it won't be Jack Grealish and whoever else is on the left, but as they pass the ball, they make sure that there's 4 more around the ball. You understand what I mean? And they do it in pockets all over the pitch, right? But you've got to compensate for the what ifs, and that's what City did, like going back to that League Cup. What I said, that League Cup final at Wembley, where they kept stopping the game, which is a lot more continental than most English teams have been known for. But sticking to the thing about Liverpool, that's what I like about Liverpool. They'll only play out from the back if it's on to fizz it out to a full back, or everyone's retreated, and they'll go on in and they'll roll it out to one of the centre backs. But if they've found themselves defending deep, and they get the keeper gets his head up, or a back player gets his head up, they've got no qualms in going like boom, pinging one of those long diagonal balls. Well, I used to call it a boom ball, a boomer. Just like boom it 50 yards, stand it up and get it across, and then they let you on the break, and then they're swarming all over the gaff. Inevitably, it ends up with an attempt on goal, if not in the back of the net. So it's about it's a key word in football. I used to use it a lot when I was coaching. Recognise. You got to get your head up, and you got to recognise what's on and what's not on. Like I say, you got to be able to, as a coach, you've got to be able to coach that instance, then the next instance, variables of both of them, then the next instance and variables of that, and then you've got to compensate with the what ifs. You understand? And nah.
I think it's fair to say I've only seen the highlights, didn't watch it live. That's Liverpool did exactly that to Arsenal at the weekend. They were It was a sort of bit of feeling out. It looked like in the early process, and then Klopp decided to make a couple of changes, a little subtle tweak here and there, and they were mixing it, like you say, going long or playing out, and then stung Arsenal for 2 goals. And Arsenal didn't seem to have the response. Liverpool seemed to respond to how the game was going, got themselves in front, and then Arsenal didn't seem to be able to respond to Liverpool getting themselves in front.
Yeah, I mean, that's a bit simplistic
problems from my point of view, but
but it is though. It is, and it's about recognising that and having the football IQ. But Arsenal are having the problems I said they'd have, and I backed Arteta to the hilt when they were calling for his head after getting spanked by Brentford at the beginning of last season, and people got like called and said, "No, like leave him be. He knows what he's doing. He's got his ideas. You can see he's a good coach. You can see he's very intense, and he demands high standards." I loved him for the thing when I watched the Amazon thing, the Casa Pepe turnout, and the physio, so the doctor said, "What's that mean?" He says, "In Spain, it means anyone can do whatever the fuck they want." And they got rid of Aubameyang, turning up when he likes in his sports car, whatever. Like
Yeah.
he'd doing a favour taking 300 grand a week, doing the punters a favour for paying his wages. I thought that was brilliant the way he handled that, and that's it. And this is the way we're going to go, and this is the type of club we're going to be, which is what they've always been. Even when I knew it as a kid, it's a class gaff, right? Now, I said they need, and it's come to pass, more variation. They still need to sort out the goalkeeping situation. As predicted. They still need to sort out the back four, as predicted. They still need 2 fullbacks. I can't be having him, the centre back from Brighton, playing at right back. For one reason and one reason only, I can't be having a geezer on my staff who says he's not really interested in football when he don't watch it. Right? Well, it's your living, and you can go. You're walking along the beach holding hands in Ibiza with your fiance or your girlfriend or your wife, and you're going like for a day out on a boat and whatever. This is what pays your wages. You should be into it like you should be in ball deep with every sinew, every fibre of your being until you pack up. So I'd aim him out. I've learned my lesson. I wouldn't aim him out. I'd do it quietly, but I'd have it in now that he's going to be phased out, right? Because I'll come across someone like that. Didn't live. He's a good athlete. He lives right. You could tell he lives right. He looks after himself, but that ain't my point. I had someone who didn't live right and who put on a load of weight in a small amount of time, and his off the field habits were despicable and diabolical, and he was treating the club like an ATM, his profession as a joke, and got annihilated, and then started mucking about. And he's got selective memory loss on YouTube about the so-called contract negotiations. Because put quite simply, he wouldn't have decided to sign a 7-day deal if I hadn't made him on behalf of the club a counter offer in the manager's office, in the office, when he asked for X amount, X amount, and X amount. And I said, impossible. It ain't going to happen. It can't happen. I won't go into the details why. Sign for 2 years for the same money, and that'll take you up to your testimonial. So if I never made him a counter offer, very quickly, the nonsense he's come out with on an interview on YouTube, he wouldn't. He said he wasn't made a counter offer. You've got to be made a counter offer, or you've got to be made an offer by the club to clearly define what your contractual situation is, which was he elected to sign a 7-day deal. Now, talking about the people I'm talking about, and I said they need an out-and-out goal scorer. And I think they've done a good bit of business with a couple of players. The main one being the boy that left Chelsea, because Chelsea are crying out for him now. They've give a full, yeah, they get what's his name?
Jorginho, centre mid.
Yeah,
the Italian.
yeah. All right, he's been in and out. He's been injured. You look at it now. They've given 45 million for Caicedo. He hasn't exactly hit the ground running. You've got the other one. What's his name? Is it Enzo or something? I can see this is how bad the club is. I said to Chris Mears today, who I apologise, it's remiss of me. He's either the ex-chairman's son or the ex-chairman's nephew. So there was Gus Mears and Brian Mears when I was there. So Chris is one of their offspring. And I said to him, it's like the old days, but with money. I look at it, there's no with Chelsea, and I'm looking out and thinking to myself, I'm not so sure that was a good bit of business offloading him to Arsenal. Before we come to Chelsea, I said the problem with Arsenal is once you suss out Saka and the other guy on the left who should have been playing more, and he has been playing more, and he's been more or less than ever present. Now, once the supply starts going in, right, you now need a focal point, which they haven't got, they've never had, and even when Jesus was fit, they never had. And then on top of that, he's at an age now where he's going to start running into, which is all the things you should take on board as a manager when you're buying a player. He's going to start having injury problems because of his age. And Havertz, in Chelsea's in the plus column, that was a good bit of business offloading him, because I don't know, I don't see what he brings to the party. Sorry. When I look at what they had before, I'm going back years, and it's the same with Chelsea. You had people who would all the Arsenal teams that I saw right from the late 60s and then the early 70s when they started winning, they had good backbone, good goalkeeper, good centre halves, good captain at centre half, good midfield players, good warrior midfield players, good creative midfield players, and then great forwards. And it's been all the way through. And not only that, very resilient, dogged, and determined. And you really had to go something to beat them, and you might beat them 1-0 if you're lucky.
Just circling back very, very quickly before we
Yeah.
move on and link to Chelsea FC. John Cartwright, you mentioned earlier. I take it that was part of the Crystal Palace, Malcolm Anderson, Terry Venables clan, was it? Was that where
Yeah,
he
it would have
came
been.
from?
Yeah, it would have been. Yeah, because the link was West Ham. He was at
Yeah.
West Ham as a kid, and he'd have been in that little mob that, like Bobby Moore says, Malcolm Allison was the biggest influence on his career and the biggest influence on him becoming the player he was. And it was all that West Ham connection, and then Palace, and then Charlton. I come across him when he was at Charlton. Yeah,
Good references. Good references.
yeah,
Pep, I
yeah.
think, if
And it
I'm
was nice. It was
right.
a nice challenge for me. I remember we done them. We done them in the league 2-0. One from open play, and it was set back, and it was a long range shot from a kid, Chrissy Perifma, and one was a wide free kick that we'd rehearsed and rehearsed and rehearsed, and a kid called Anthony Gabrielli got across his marker and went bang and buried it, and we done them 2-0. And all he said was, yeah, well done. You had a bit more pace than us in vital areas, which we weren't really renowned for pace in the side, apart from Darren Purse and Andrew Uckstep, maybe Jody Looms, and maybe one of the forwards. But yeah, thing, because when you come across your peers, you don't only plagiarise, but you try and beat them.
Absolutely. I imagine you do.
Very satisfying. Yeah, it's very satisfying because he
I
was a
bet it
face.
was.
He was a face, and he one of the great innovators. Sad loss to coaching. I don't know what he's been doing. I've been out of the loop. Apart from watching the game, I've been out of it for 25 years, as you know.
We've got about 10 minutes left on this current recording, so we can move into CFC and dedicate the last portion entirely to CFC, or we can maybe a quick couple of minutes on FA Cup. Obviously, it was the third round. There's the well-known cliche as a term for tonight. The magic of the FA Cup seems to be dying off a little bit. I've got a little stat, nicked it out of the newspaper, a bit of plagiarism, but 40 years ago, there was, out of 32 games, 30 kicked off at 3 o'clock on the Saturday. And this year, obviously, we've had games from last Thursday through to this Monday. And looking at now, just cheating slightly, 10 games with Saturday 3 o'clock kickoff. And there was games just spread far and wide all day on. It's a popular opinion, but seems to be taking a little bit of the lustre off the tournament. There's a bit of a lack of giant killings. Maidstone, honourable mention to them, into the fourth round, knocked out a club good 50 odd places above them in the league table. But other than that, it's a little bit of a damp squib, really.
I agree. I mean, it's only still got the magic because the managers come on and quote these cliches and say it's still got magic. But like with regards to kicking off at the same time, I suppose because of the other demands, it's all dictated by TV. It's dictated by the commercial side of it. They'll play the games when they're told to play the games. But with regards, so that's why they've sort of got rid of in the later rounds replays and whatnot. But what I've noticed this year is how few, with regards to the third round being joined by the Premier League and the Championship clubs, how few, I don't think I've ever seen so few non-league sides, because it's filtered right down through the game. And just like in conversations with different people, it's all about budget. And then people getting their foot in the door, whether they're qualified or not. They're great actors, great talkers. They get their foot in the door and they pillage the budget and then move on to the next job, where there's a bigger budget or the same budget or more budget. You know what I mean? So it seems to be like a merry-go-round without the teaching of the game and the organisation of the game to improve players and get them structured so that they can maybe make an FA Cup giant killing. And I remember the years ago, like the Suttons v the Coventries and all that type of thing. That's few and far between now. Although there was a couple of fantastic. I thought Wrexham was a fantastic performance away from home with a 1-0. I thought they nearly done Watford. Who was the other mob? Chesterfield.
Chesterfield needed Watford. I'm just looking
Yeah,
for
I
Wrexham.
thought that was a great performance, and it was just lack of nous, and maybe it was lack of nous and lack of maybe professionalism in how to kill the game off, what they call game management. They could have quite conceivably turned them over. There was a few notable performances. Yeah, but I don't see, like you said, it's lost its luster a little bit. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah, definitely.
I'll tell you why. Because it's the same usual suspects. It's the same old faces, isn't it?
Yeah.
They'll definitely win a trophy this year. Liverpool, I think. I think they'll definitely win a trophy. They might even win a double. Um, I'm looking at them with a thing with a like the Chelsea fans are already resigned to saying even if they do get to Wembley, Liverpool won't be needing penalties to beat them.
Liverpool just won tonight. Actually, first leg they beat Fulham 2-1 after
Yeah,
being 1-0 down.
yeah, yeah. But I should imagine as well. See what you know what I like about it, Rob. It's very cute. You know what I mean? Very cute. I go back way back when he did his first interview or one of his first interviews. He's sitting there like this, leaning with the Beatles t-shirt on. He's bought into the singing of the anthem by all four sides of the ground. He's bought into the singing of the anthem by the cop. He's bought into he's actually implemented the same thing with the wall when he was at Borussia, and he did the thing the wall with the fist up and the three cheers or the four whatever after they've won a game, and they've bought into him. And on the side, he's very emotional, and he's very you could see he kicks and heads every ball, and he's
Yeah.
right into the game. But you know what? When he's in front of the camera, he's wonderfully understated. Wonderfully understated. Very clever, very cute man. Very cute man. And I admire him for that. I really do, because it's you've got to know the psyche of it. You've got to be played around it or managed or coached around it or be inside a club to know the psyche of it. And then when it says, oh, so and so, what about Trent Alexander? What about Trent? What about Mo? And he just goes, well, it's what Mo does. Move on. You understand? He's sort of saying to the interviewer, move on, because he don't want to put too much spotlight on it. He leaves that to the other, and I think that's very cute. And he's just coming along nicely on the inside, on the rails, very understated, and then wait and see. You know what I mean? Be out of them and City again. I can't. After the last run of results, I think they have 3 or 4 on the belt now. Arsenal, is it 4 on the belt?
I think it's 4 out of 5 in all competitions, something like that, and Matt Price, so probably
Yeah.
3, 4 in the league. Certainly 3 or 4 without a win anyway.
They've got a big decision to make. They've got to say, right, I'll tell you the decision. Do we stick with Arteta and we get the players that he needs? Or do they go for the cheaper option and give him a settlement and get the next bloke in? You know what I mean?
Got to stick with Arteta, surely, haven't they?
Well, yeah, but it depends. It's in the end, it's down to money. What do you want to do? Do you want to give 160 million for 2 top draw players, or three? Do you want to give like Chelsea have done £750 million and wasted the lot? we're going to need another recording, but these are the
We are going to
decisions.
need another recording for Chelsea.
Rob, these are the decisions that have got to be made. You understand? So it's like we stick with him, and we need, and don't forget Ferguson. He had 4 fantastic forwards when they won the treble, right? So you need 2 fantastic forwards if you're going to play with one up front. So one to mirror the other one when he needs a break, when he needs a rest, or if you want to cause real problems, bring them on together or play them together. You understand what I mean? And rotate them that way. If you're going to go one up front, one has a rest, a couple of games, then the other one comes in. You understand what I mean? And then you've got to, like I said, he's got to deal with them problems at the back. It still don't look right. It's still like they can get carved open too easily. And that's how it's been in the last few games. But it could be worse. Having said that, they have got a big decision to make. They've got if they want to push on that final furlong to get a trophy or 2, they've got to commit to buying some players. But I wouldn't advise buying them now.
No, January could be very much hit or miss. And that, to be fair, over the years for various clubs, there's been a few gold mines hit, but more often than not, it seems to be the old panic and doesn't always work out, apart from the odd exception. But
I'll tell you what we do. I'll tell you what we do. We thank everyone for watching this, which we do. We wish them a happy, healthy new year. We'll ring off and then we come back and we'll do a part 2. How's that sound?
Sounds good. I think we should probably start with Chelsea in the next episode, because otherwise we never seem to get to them because we get too much else to talk about. But yeah, we'll kick off the next one with
Listen, well, then we might
Chelsea.
have to do a third episode. All right.
Shall we go? I might have to get a coffee rather than a cup of decaf tea if we go into episode 3. But we'll see how that goes. But yeah, for now, thank you again, everyone, for watching. Please, can you do so? Share, like, subscribe, do whatever you need to do. Send it to your mates on WhatsApp, YouTube, everything. Thank you very much.